Alright everyone, welcome to race... Is it race 5 or race 6? As always, very well prepared by me. It is race 6. Race 6 of the 2S F1 Championship. This time we're in Azerbaijan. The stream is starting a little bit later due to me having to get some other stuff done in order to get it working. But now it's working, so we just missed some of the first banker laps, which isn't really that big of an issue, seeing banker laps aren't representative of what the drivers really can do anyway. So we have a couple of new faces, well, one new face to be precise, which is Luca Sebi, or Luca Sebi. Not sure how to pronounce his name, we're just gonna go with Luca Sebi. He joined to us today, and he is debuting as a reserve, almost going into the wall, but saving it very nicely on his outlap. Then we also have Mr. Afanasop... Sorry if I butcher it. Afanasopoulos. That's what I'm gonna go with. Who used to be known as Yoda, who decided to use his, what I can only assume is his real name. Then we have old reserve Crystals coming back in the Haas, and the rest is pretty familiar faces. So we are gonna go on board with one of the new drivers on the grid, Luca Sebi, and we are just gonna whip out the tire and track map, and we are gonna look at his first valid time lap in sector 1. Of course, the two left-hand 90-degree corners, and we have another DRS straight, two DRS straights on this track, with the second one being very long. Sector 1 ending after basically the fourth 90-degree corner. You should be right here up ahead where you brake at the tree, into this very slow section, entering a tiny straight, before we head into the, I think, best known section of the track, the castle. Very tricky. Very easy to make a mistake here, as we saw Charles Leclerc do in 2019 and Luca Sebi in 2022. It's a very easy spot to make a mistake, because you have to really be on the edge to go through there with some pace. I think we're going to see a couple of drivers maybe struggle with it, but I hope there won't be any big incidents there in the race. But we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I assume Luca will finish this lap, although it wasn't the greatest. He'll have something on the timing board to at least go off of. It looks like reigning champion Danico is actually doing an outlap, so he might actually be doing qualifying this time, which he hasn't been doing for the last races of the season. For any of the 5, I don't think he's done quali once. Luca Sebi setting a 42.6, of course, due to that mistake, it was a sub-optimal lap. But he at least has something on the board. So now let's have a look at our current pole sitter, Christian in the Alpine, who's flying down towards the end of sector 2. Back in the old games, that corner that he just went through, you could jump the curb and it will gain you a lot of time. This game, not very smart, I think. I haven't seen people really doing it. But Christian has set a purple sector 2. As Meeple currently gets on pole by 4.5 tenths, setting a 39 flat. Let's see what Christian will do. Will he be able to improve? He will improve by 3 tenths, but it's not quite enough to get pole, as he's still just over a tenth off. Now let's have a look at Danny, who is on the mediums. But this is most likely just a lap to see how the track feels on the hardest tire compound. Actually, he doesn't use any ERS either because the light on the rear is flashing. I assume he is just cruising around, getting used to the track. So probably no qualifying from him. That's all. Who else is on a lap? I think Blindevinkje is on a lap. One of the two Mercedes drivers. The second one is currently in P15. Blindevinkje going into Sector 2, into the infamous castle section. He does get it right. And this looks very nice and tidy, using all of the exit as well. This did look very nice indeed. Now I have to say, my frame rate in game is suboptimal, but I hope it looks okay on the stream. Let me have a look on the phone actually. It seems to look fine. That's good. Last week, of course, we didn't have a stream due to technical issues. I couldn't get the game running properly. Thankfully, I have managed to fix it for this week, so we can now enjoy a good stream of the broadcast. And Blindevinkje jumps up to P4, finishing his lap. Now, actually, we do want to enable not telemetry, but lap data, so I can see what is going on in the sector times. And seeing this is Baku, I will for now disable the detail on the standings, as I don't think anyone will qualify on the mediums. However, this is kind of hard to see who is on the lap. See, this is just very annoying, because like, you don't really know who's on a lap without this overlay on, but this overlay is so big. It's really getting in the way sometimes. Anyone on the lap? I don't think so, not at the moment at least. Other Mercedes of no build is on an outlap though, together with Crystals, but no build is the car that is ahead. Maybe he'll get a cheeky slipstream by his teammate for the start of his lap. I don't think they'll gain him much really. If anything, they'll probably just compromise his entry into turn 1 as he'll have to brake earlier. Maybe not the smartest decision, but I'm not the driver, so maybe this is part of their plan. Who knows? Although, I think he is quite far ahead, so I don't think his slipstream will affect no build. Now, I believe there won't be any rain this race, so we'll have a dry race as Noble weaving on the straight, warming up his tires still. Of course, the run up here doesn't really matter because it's a 90-degree corner, so it's all in the exit here. If you can get a good exit, that's where all the lap time is in that corner. Especially for all of these 90-degree corners, it's just you have to go slow in, fast out to gain as much time as you can on the exit. The entry doesn't really matter that much. Of course, you're starting to get a good entry, but it isn't that bad if you kind of mess it up on the entry. As long as the exit is fine, you will be good. Now into the end of Sector 1. His Sector 1 split is a 35-1, which is currently purple. Now into the chicane, in a tiny straight. Looks like he did have some wheel spin that will lose him a lot of time. Thankfully he did keep it out of the wall. Now into the castle section, what will he be able to do here? Keeps it out of the wall. However, it did look a little bit slower than his teammate. Not as committed, you might say, through that section. Now into the very tight left-hander. Is he potentially getting blocked by the Aston Martin? No, he isn't. The Aston Martin gets out of the way. Still purple Sector 2. So it looks like he is currently on for a pole position lap. Of course, we only have less than 2 minutes left in the session, so most of the drivers will be starting their final lap, and this is Noble's final lap already, because I know that he won't be able to put another one in after that. And he goes P5, a second slower off pole. I think that mistake in Sector 2 cost him a lot of time, and now he is getting in the way of the Aston Martin, so that will probably be a post-race penalty. As we have a yellow flag, that is a Alpine. Might that be... Sorry, that was William, that was Lucas Ebby. Anyway, let's have a look. Who haven't we spectated in a very long while? Here on the channel. We haven't really spectated Yoda, so let's give him some screen time, as he is currently on his hot lap entering the castle section, McLaren driver. Who I just discovered is Greek by his name. I didn't know that previously. Good admin, by the way. Yoda didn't have the best of luck this season so far, so maybe he can turn it around in Baku. Of course, Baku is a track where everything can happen. It's a very unforgiving track. One mistake and you're in the wall. So really anything can happen here. Now Yoda going on to the third sector and final sector. As there is a yellow flag, which is his teammate in sector 1. I think just letting people through that. Yep, that's what it looks like as he is rolling again. Now Yoda coming across the line with a 1:45.8, which is currently 3 seconds off the car in P15. So I can only assume he made a very big mistake somewhere that we didn't catch on camera. Let's look who else is on a hot lap. Meepo is in the wall. So he can't improve his time. Crystals can't improve. Makander cannot improve. Neither can Lindefinkje. Love already set his lap. Now Ron Cruiser is currently in P8. He is still on his lap in the Alfa Romeo. Very pretty car this game, I have to say. I really like the reflections on the paint. It's a very lovely paint job. Actually, before him, there will be Crystals across the line, although he already has set a lap. Then I think it will be Lucas Sebi, who I don't think he improved. Might have been a invalid lap. So then it will be Davey coming across the line. Currently in P13, jumps up to P11. Ron Cruiser jumps up to P5. And I think that was Smelt jumping up to P9. And then we only have Denico left coming across the pit lane. Stopping in the pit lane, curiously enough. Daniel. And his teammate is slow at the side of the track. Mr. Gofield. Yep, there he goes, disqualification. Interesting. Anyway, so Meepo our pole sitter with Christian in P2 and Crystals rounding out the podium positions. Has anything been said in chat? No, I don't think so. Just reacting to some messages in the Discord. Right. We're still waiting for the animation to finish anyway, so we aren't missing much. Right, so Meepo is our pole sitter. It doesn't look like we have any grid penalties, which is always good to see. Of course, Danico, no quali lap. Makander P4, Ron Cruiser in P5. Lindefinkje only in P6, which is, I think we are used to seeing him a bit higher. Possibly didn't have a good lap. Same with Noel. Actually, both Mercedes are kind of underperforming. But maybe it is just... not really. Maybe this track is not really working in their favor. Just gonna go through the incidents real quick, just in case this will be necessary. Yeah, hopefully the race will be clean. That's the only thing I'm hoping for, is for there not to be a interesting incident in the race. But we can only wait and see if anything happens. Now the drivers are choosing their strategy, and we will just be waiting. Alright, and the drivers are readying up on the race line, and we have 5 lights, and it's 5 lights, and away we go. It looks like Mikander has had a really good start, jumping up to P2 already into turn 1, with Meepo keeping the lead. Let's see what's happening at the back. It looks like everyone has kept it pretty clean, a little bit of squiggling. I think that was free wide for just a second. Now going free wide into here isn't that great of an idea. Now I think that's Lucas Sebi who has had a bit of an incident with someone of Blind. I think already retiring from the session. What has happened to him? He is in the middle of the track, and we have a virtual safety car in lap 1. So there must have been an incident somewhere at the start that we just didn't see, with Blinde Vinkje retiring from the session. And I think that was Nobot getting a 5-second penalty. Excuse me, that wasn't Nobot. That was either Christian or our gamer. That already got a 5-second penalty, but thankfully it is only a virtual safety car. Now Davey also getting a 5-second time penalty for a collision with our gamer. Why is someone going so slow? That's Christian. There's a very big gap between P6 and P7 already, as the virtual safety car is out, so we are green again. That means everyone is racing, but the gap between P6 and P7 is already 4.2 seconds. So this will definitely make the race less interesting, unless we'll have another safety car. And now Ron Cruiser, who is in P4, will have to try and get closer up ahead, get back into the DRS, as DRS will be opening in 2 laps. Of course, this won't be very hard for him if the 2 cars ahead will be going side by side. And I think there is some overtaking going on behind, as Christian is in the wall on the hard tire, missing a front wing. Actually, let's pull up the tires, see how many people you have on hards. Not that many, only our gamer, Danico, Fox Christian, and Athanasopoulos. I'll just say Yoda, easier for me, otherwise I'll have a stroke every time I'm trying to not butcher his name. I'm sorry, I'm not Greek. It's a very difficult name. Oh, and Christian has tapped the wall going into the pit lane of the game, resetting him back onto the line and getting a 5-second penalty. So I can only expect this to be a retirement, and yes, it is. Let's go back to the front, as Crystal's already dropped back 1.3 seconds from Meepo. Meepo having an absolute banger of a race so far. Already pulling a 1.5 second gap after that safety car restart, virtual safety car restart that is. So it looks like he is really trying to pull away as much as he can, but now the gap between P6 and P7 has gotten even bigger, as with Samina being in P7 the gap is or almost 6 seconds. Now this isn't the longest of races, it's 26 laps. I expect lap times to be around 1 minute 46 in the race, maybe 45 towards the end. As Crystals actually set a middle sector 2 that was purple. So he did catch up close to half a second on Meepo. So I can only assume Crystals is pushing as much as he can to try and get back into the 1 second window, and he did, as he is already 7/10 behind Meepo, and setting the fastest lap of 1:43. So me thinking they were going to be doing 1:46, this was massively off. Yeah, don't mind that, but 43 it is then, so we will probably see maybe even 41s at the end of the race, if someone will decide to go in softs. Of course, the cars now are still very heavy. As that was Fox retiring in the pit lane. So the other Haas, unfortunately, also retired and left the session. So I already have 3 cars that are DNF'd in the session, so we're only left with 15 drivers at the moment. Now, I don't think there is really much interesting happening as the gaps are quite big. Let's go to Alexander Love, who is right up the diffuser of Samim. Both drivers on the medium tire compound, going through the castle section now. Now Alexander is very close, and I think DRS is already on, so this should be a very easy pass for him on the straight. The only thing he has to kind of look for is to try and not overtake Samim before the DRS detection zone. I'm not sure where the DRS detection zone is on the map. I don't think it really shows. It might be just before the DRS detection. And there is Samim trying to let him go. Now, did that work out for him? It did, because he has the DRS. But will he have enough top speed? Love going slightly defensive. Samim trying to go around the outside. They go too wide into turn 1. And they touch with Andreas Love being spun, causing him to have a collision with EMT. So this will definitely be an incident that will be looked at by the stewards after the race, as it did cost Alexander Love basically the race, as he is second to last, only with Yoda being 11 seconds behind him, who I think might have had an unfortunate incident somewhere in the race as well. Hold up, was that a car that was spun? It was Dave that was spun in the Red Bull. It looks like he has damage. His left side of the wing looks like it's damaged. That must be at least yellow damage. So I can only assume he will go in for a wing change and a tire change very soon. And that is the other Mercedes. That's no build being spun on the hard tire. So both the Mercedes not having good luck, with one already retired and the other one just spun, losing his wing. Of course, he is on the alternative strategy, so he will have to go to either soft or mediums, which will not make it to the end of the race. So now the train up front is only 5 cars. Well, realistically 3, because Run Cruiser is currently not in the DRS of Mekender in P3. Now Smelt very close up behind Run Cruiser, not quite close enough to make the move. It looks like Nobuild is dropping back again. I think he let quite a bit of people go, trying to not get into their way when he's going into the pits, and that's someone else going into the pits as well. That's Alexander Love trying to probably fix his damage. Nobuild getting 5-second penalty, and he is also retiring from the race. So that's up to 4 retirements already, and only 14 cars left in the race. Now, interestingly enough, Alexander, I keep calling him Alexander. I don't know why. Andreas Love decided not to change his front wing. That might be an interesting decision. Maybe it was a mistake from him to not change the wing. Maybe he was trying to change it, but the game didn't do it. It will definitely lose him a lot of time. So unless a safety car pops up, I think that's basically race over for him. As he locks up again and almost goes into the wall. So you can really see how much that wing damage is affecting him. Especially on the right side. But now the gap between P5 and P6 is already up to 12 seconds. No, I am sorry to say, but I think unless we will have a safety car, this will not be a very exciting race, as we have Crystals going into the pits. That's a very early pit stop with him getting a 5-second penalty for speeding. I wonder what he will do in the pits. It is very early to go in, and he is already going onto the hards as we are spectating the Alfa Romeo garage. Now, I just barely could see that he went on hards, but That's a very early pit stop. I don't think he had any damage, so... That is very early, but now Makander isn't in the DRS of Meepo. The two Finnish drivers might try and help each other a tiny bit, but we'll just have to wait and see. As I think that's Danico who's storming up the field, who we haven't actually been looking at. Went from last already to P7, so he has gained 11 positions. And is now right up the gearbox of the Red Bull of EMT. So he will try and get the overtake done as soon as possible. But I think he will just try and sit behind him, not do anything stupid. Trying to just get the move done on the straight. Of course he is on the hard tire, so the complete opposite strategy from everyone in front of him. Then again, he would need a safety car if he would still want to win this race, as once he gets past EMT and Samin, the gap is over 14 seconds. So that's a very big gap, and that's Yoda, the other McLaren, who has had it off in the castle section, missing a entire front wing. Very unfortunate for him, as he will now drop down to the last position on the grid. Now, it's the same story as Noble with the hard tire is. You have to make a pit stop, but he won't be able to make it to the end on those mediums. I don't think they'll last 20 laps. And actually Crystal's in the pits again, serving his 5-second time penalty and doing a tire change. And that's Yoda also retiring from the race. So we now have 5 retired cars with only 13 racing. Very unfortunate to see people retiring from the race. And that's a safety car actually. So Yoda crashed on the straight. I thought he crashed in the, or not crashed, I thought he DNF'd in the pit lane. So this brings out the safety car, and this will be a massive game changer for everyone. As Danico just got a drive-through for speeding under safety car. This is what we would call the Danico special. As he also dropped down to P10. How did he drop down to P10? Oh? I'm confused. What happened to Danny? This is interesting. I completely don't know what happened to him. Anyway, we will have a safety car, so a lot of people stopping. Meepo going into the pits, so is Makander. I can only assume everyone is going to go into the pits. I don't see why you shouldn't make a pit. So maybe the 2 drivers on 6-lap old hards, and maybe Andreas Luff will stay out. But if I was on the mediums, I would definitely go for a pit stop right now, as it's basically a free stop. Let me check Discord again, see if there is no beef. Looks fine. Just gotta make sure no one is screaming at each other. As it's league racing, everyone can get tense sometimes, can get annoyed. These things happen, but thankfully nothing has been said so far. Now, seeing this is a safety car, I shall be back in just a second, as I will grab some water because my throat is very dry. I'll be back in just a second. Right. I have returned. It looks like this will be the final lap of the safety car, as almost everyone's caught up, so we will have the safety car going in this lap. Gosh, I need that water. My throat was very, very dry, but we are ready to go now again. We still have 15 laps to go. So, more than half the race still to go. Which means everything can still happen. Now, Marius, I'm not yawning because the race is boring. I am yawning because I'm currently on about 2.5 hours of sleep. So that's why I'm yawning. Excuse me for that. And there's the safety car in this lap. So from here on, Meepo is deciding the pace. When the safety car is in the pits, that's when he can choose whenever he wants to go. Of course, no overtaking until the start-finish line. So it looks like he is keeping quite a nice pace. Staying in fourth. And when will he decide to go? I think he'll decide to go... Yep, there it is. We are racing again. Let's have a look at the restart. Let's go a bit to the back of the field. There is free wide into turn 1. And it looks like they keep it alive. No, they don't. There's someone into the wall. That's our gamer in the wall. It looks like he doesn't have damage. At least not visually. That's Danico serving his drive-through that he got under the safety car. But... unfortunately, we did not have a clean safety car restart, and there is another crash. That's Andreas Sloth, together with Davey and Crystals, all three having a spin. So a very, very, very eventful restart, with 2 crashes in effectively 3 corners. Not what you want to see, with there now being a very big gap between P9 and P10, and then between P10 and P11. So our gamer is really on his own, splitting 2 packs. Although thankfully the fight for the lead is now bigger than it used to be. So now it's basically free game for everyone, at least in the top 8, as they're all on the same strategy, with Samim having 1 lap fresher tires. Speak of Samim, tapping the wall just a tiny bit with the rear tire. Won't get any damage from that, as this game does not simulate suspension damage. Sector 2 yellow flag, I think that's Danico being spun around. Not the greatest race for him either. Of course, start last, that was by choice. But then, under the safety car, got a driver for speeding, and now having a spin as well. So he is dead last with a close to 5.5 second gap. Our gamer now going into the pits. I can only assume this will be to fix damage. Yesterday I see someone picking up a wing. So this will be a long pit stop. This is wing change plus tire change. Should be about 5.5 seconds. Oh, this was very long. So he will be now even behind Danny. So it doesn't look like Danny has damage, as he didn't make a pit stop. Yeah, there. I can already see the packs are starting to form again, as EMT has dropped back almost 2 seconds to Ron Cruiser, who's currently in P4. So this will be the battle for P1 is effectively P1 through to P4, as EMT would have to start pushing now to get back into that pack. Otherwise, they will just pull away because they all have DRS on each other. So EMT and Basco would have to work together to effectively DRS boost each other into the train ahead. Of course, the DRS alone won't be enough, so they will still have to show some good pace to get up there, but the gap keeps increasing, so it looks like the cars ahead are pulling away. DRS now enabled, as we're in lap, is it 12? Yes, lap 12 of the race. So we are close to halfway, with Basco being right up the gearbox of EMT. DRS of course open now, as he is very close. Danico setting a fastest lap of the race, 43.0. I don't think that's quite a big improvement over Crystals, if I recall correctly. Probably a few hundredths, actually. Or maybe a tenth. I don't remember. I don't think I can check either. So, anyway, Danny on a charge. Currently P12. I wonder if he'll be able to make it back into the points. The gap to the points isn't that big. It's 5.5 seconds, roughly. It could perhaps be doable. It is going to be a challenge, that's for sure, but I think for a driver the caliber of Danny, it could be very possible. Now Basco's still very close, up behind EMT. I think that's probably the closest battle we have in track, as Samim is the first one to get a track warning penalty. So he has been using the track limits a little bit too much. Stewart's not happy with that, giving him a 3-second time penalty. And Basco now here lining up to make a move. This will be a very easy move, of course, DRS assisted. Although EMT does go defensive, almost does a Schumacher, tries to push Basco into the wall, but Basco gets the move done nice and clean. Now with EMT being this close, he will have DRS this time. Oh, but he makes a very big mistake. Almost goes into the wall, so he will not be able to make this overtake. Basco weaving a tiny bit there, maybe showing EMT that he's very annoyed with him trying to push Basco into the wall. But Basco is now ahead and he will try to pull away as EMT is out of the 1 second window, meaning he won't have the DRS. Now there has been a move made for P8 as Samim and Davey are still going side by side. Samim getting pushed into the wall there a tiny bit. Concedes for now, as he knows this is not a very smart place to go too wide. There was, of course, contact as we saw. I'm not sure who was trying to make the overtake on who, but it's not what we want to see. Of course, two cars pushing each other for a corner, effectively. And I think that's Crystals who has had an incident in the castle. Yes, it is. He is missing his entire front wing, and I think Danny just hit the wall as well. I'm not sure if I saw a piece of carbon fiber flying off. Could potentially be damage, or he got very lucky and he didn't damage his wing. And there's another wing laying there in the middle of the track. Who's that? Is that Loves? No. That's some memes. So Samim is missing a wing. He will be going into the pit lane for a wing change. That is very interesting. He must have had another incident with Davey in that case, or he must have just overshot the corner. It's, of course, for us it's impossible to know as we don't have a replay to look at it. Crystal's now retiring from the race in the pits. That means there's only 12 cars left and 6 cars retired. So we have 1/3 of the grid, unfortunately, retired from the race. Crystal's also leaving the session. So now Danico is in the points, so due to the incidents in front of him, he is back into the points with a 3.5 second gap to Andreas Loff. Let's have a look. Who else is close together? One cruiser very close behind Smelt, and Makender very close behind Meepo. Now we will watch Makender and Meepo, as this is the fight for the lead. But I don't think any of these two fights will really end up in overtakes. I think most of the drivers here are just patiently waiting, saving up their batteries, not really pushing. Just trying to conserve their energy, their tires, for a possible final attack towards the end of the race. Now Davey is also very close up behind Luca Sebi. Of course Davey is on the mediums, which are 9 laps old, versus Luca Sebi, who's on 6 lap old hards. So theoretically, I think Luca's tires should be a tiny bit quicker on pace. The Williams driver is trying to, of course, keep the position. But I think Davey might get the move done here. He is using the overtake button. Luca doesn't have much ERS as his rear is flashing. But Davey is staying behind. Just waiting for now. I think he noticed that he was getting moved on, and that is EMT, who I think has suffered from either a spin or a collision with someone. Let's see, does he have any damage? It does not look like it, at least visually. So he has gotten lucky with that. And Makender actually dropping out of the 1 second window from Meepo. So he must have had some form of a mistake somewhere. Possibly a bit too greedy on the throttle or something like that. Losing him the DRS on the car ahead. Now EMT right up behind his teammate. Will he try and go for the move? The two Red Bulls are both going to try and probably overtake the wings. Now it doesn't look like EMT is going to go for a move here, although he is very close, pulling up to the inside last minute. Sending it on the inside. They're both still side by side, left each other just enough space, and EMT is ahead. So he gets to move on, a little bit of a collision with the wall there, but now his teammate might go for a counter-attack, although it doesn't look like it. He isn't using any energy, and EMT gets the move done. So he'll now try and hunt for Luca Sebi, who is in front of him, on equally old tires. This is the closest battle on the grid at the moment, as the gaps are very, very big, unfortunately. This race. Now I wonder if EMT will be able to overtake Luca here. Almost going into the wall, not quite hitting that apex the way he wants. He hits the apex here too hard and does go into the wall. Also getting a bit squiggly on the exit. Not the optimal sector 2 so far. So I don't think he'll be quite close enough for a overtake on the straight. However, he does gain a bit of time under braking here, as there's a sector 2 yellow flag. That's reigning champion Danny, who has made a mistake and lost his entire front wing with 10 laps to go. So really not the race he would want. Now I would not be surprised if this is another retirement to add up to the list. I see we'll have to go into the pits, and there he goes into the pit lane now. Very unfortunate to see another crash for him. Will it be a retirement? It does not look like it, thankfully. So now back to the battle, as actually Andreas Love got involved. So now EMT defending from Andreas Love, but Andreas Love going around the outside on the straight, and he gets to move on. So it looks like Andreas Love is really the fastest right now out of everyone here, as he has caught up, gotten past EMT. Of course, he is on a bit fresher tires. He is on 9-lap-old mediums. So it looks like those mediums are still quicker for now. The question is, how long will they last? So 10 laps to go. The tires are 9 laps old. So I definitely think they aren't lasting to the end unless he'll pull a very impressive performance of tire saving. I think you'll have to make another pit stop. Argaming getting a 3-second penalty, so both the AlphaTauris, both the Aston Martins with a penalty, and now the Williams of Lucas Sebi goes into the wall, and so does Alexander Love. I said Alexander again, why do I keep calling him Alexander? So is Andreas Love. I think his name from now on will just be Alexander. Anyway, here is Andreas with the DRS assist and flying past Lucas Sebi with no issues. And here goes EMT as Lucas Sebi dives back down the inside, a little bit of a contact. I think that wasn't the cleanest move, as Andreas Love got pushed into the wall. So Lucas Sebi stays P6. But it is not what you want to see. Of course, we want to see good hard racing, but we want it clean, as clean as possible. And this was definitely not as clean as possible. As I think it was a little bit of a desperate move. There's still over 8 laps to go, so not really a need to defend that harshly at this point of the race. If someone is quicker, might as well just let him go. Sit behind him and try and save up your tires and fuel, as they will just push in front of you. Now this is currently the closest battle, as Andreas Love already got past EMT and is now going up behind Davey. Let's see, will he be able to gain something in this braking zone? He gains a tiny bit, but of course Davey will have the DRS on Lucas Sebi. So I don't think there will be any overtakes this straight. Weird noises with the wall, although the wall there isn't any contact. Run Cruiser, however, very close up behind Smelt. Don't think he is going to move on, so we are going back to Andreas Love. As they're side by side in front of him, Davey going down the inside of Lucas Sebi, and he gets to move on. However, Luca gets a way better exit. Looking down the inside, doesn't go for the move. Now, because he was looking down the inside, he gets a worse exit than the AlphaTauri. However, I think the AlphaTauri can't really capitalize from it. Daniel setting the fast lap with a 1:42.0, and with Samim going into the pits, probably switching for a fresh set of tires. There he goes, slapping on the soft tire for the final 7 laps. Now Andreas Love really close up the inside of Lucas Sebi, having a little look, knowing that's not a good place to overtake. Into the castle section they go now, very close to that inside wall, Samim retiring from this. Unfortunately, that's another one to add up, so only 11 people left in the race, with 7 retirements so far. Now, Andreas Love really up the gearbox, 2 tenths behind the Williams. Will Lucas Sebi try and do what Argamer did earlier on in the race, where he let him go before the DRS zone? No, he won't. So Andreas Love will get the DRS. And that's Davey pulling into the pit, so he is going to change those tires. Now Andreas Love gets him done. Stays ahead of Lucas Abbey this time. Davey going on to the softs. I will expect Andreas himself to pit sometime soon. I really don't think he will be able to extend 6 more laps on these tires. 18 laps on the mediums around Baku is really a lot. He will definitely be in puncture territory by then, and I think the pace on those tires will just drop off massively to the point where he'll just lose positions because of not enough grip in the tires. Now let's see, who else is close on track? EMT still behind Lucas Abbey. He is very close, but also Ron Cruiser going onto the long straight behind his mate Smelt, who's in the other team, of course. But they are good friends. They are close within each other, so I assume there is some respect. As Smelt does go defensive. Now Ron Cruz is trying to go around the outside, and it looks like he is making the move stick. Let's go on board with Smelt. And yes, the move has been made by Ron Cruiser. So Ron Cruiser is taking the final position on the podium. But Smelt does have a lot of ERS to play with. Definitely a lot more than Ron Cruiser. So we currently have a Ferrari 405, and unfortunately we missed a move, but EMT got past Lucas Abbey for P7. Now I do hope Smelt will be able to stay behind Ron Cruiser, as of course we still want some racing to be going on. As realistically the only battle at this point is Ron Cruiser versus Smelt and EMT versus Luca. The rest, the gaps are just too big at this point. McKenders, I don't think he's going to be catching up to Nico anytime soon, unless he has a lot of ERS saved up, which he does. He has 100%, but Mipa is 70 as well. So I think those positions won't change, and Lucas Abbey actually dropping out of the second of Andreas, sorry, not Andreas, EMT, and hitting the wall as well. So that is definitely suboptimal. That will not gain him any time, possibly give him wing damage. So it looks like the only battle we have is Smelt and Ron Cruiser, and it looks like Smelt tried to go down for a move. But Ron Cruiser managed to defend it. So the only battle on track, and it looks like to be very interesting as well. Of course, we are entering those final laps. So this is going to be the time where these drivers will be fighting for those positions. Of course, it would be optimal to overtake on the final lap so that the other driver doesn't have the advantage of having the possibility to overtake you back. Now on this track, this does go slightly different than on some other ones, where realistically in the final lap you still want to be behind them, but approaching the final straight, be as close as possible to then just get the slipstream slingshot past them. Because when you pass them entering the final lap, they still have the possibility to slingshot themselves going across the finish line, basically, because this straight is so long. Now it does look like Danico is gaining our gamer. Not like this move will matter, seeing as our gamer does have a time penalty to his name. But realistically, Danny doesn't even have to get the move done. He just has to stay within those 3 seconds. But now see how much will Smelt gain on one cruiser. It definitely won't be enough for overtake. He has a little look just to intimidate his opponent, but it isn't going to end up in move. I don't think he'll be close enough either on this straight. He is using the battery, but I don't think he'll get moved on. Actually, he's having a look down the inside, but doesn't go for it. Just tries to scare a road cruiser into a mistake. Now let's have a look at Danico, who is currently side by side with our gamer. Still side by side going into the corner. Doesn't quite get the move done there. Still side by side into turn 2. Looks like our gamer is still ahead. However, Danny does have the switchback now with the DRS and the overtake. And this should be a move done right here. And yes, it is. However, our gamer is switching down to the inside, but isn't quite close enough. Has to steer out as he turned in too early as well. So Danny now gaining also on the exit. Of course, wave pressures are as well. So this move is definitely secured for him. And now Davey behind both of them on fresh softs in the Red Bull. Also very close. Should theoretically slice through our gamer like a hot knife through butter. Seeing though the lap and tire difference is massive at the moment, especially on a high tire track like Baku. The tire difference should be very big. As we are entering lap 24, so just 2 more laps to go. Well, theoretically 3 laps. Lap 24, 25 and 26. So now we are really entering the final stages of this race. I will expect drivers like Smelt to really start saving up their battery now. To really try and get that move as Davey actually goes past our gamer before the line, which gives our gamer the DRS again. You can really see how much DRS really does on this track, especially on the big straight. It really gains you a lot of speed. Now of course the setups here will be quite low wing as well, to profit as much as you can from the slipstream. And really, you don't really need much downforce here, as most of the corners are nice and slow. So, I think that was our gamer touching the water a little bit, having a little bit of a squiggle on the exit, and now Davey trying to make a move. They have a little bit of a touch, but they keep it clean. Still side by side into sector 2. A little bit of a touch there again, and that's our gamer going into the wall. After having touched with Davey. But let's move on for Davey, and he should theoretically now be able to pull away. As when I was saying Smelto should be saving his battery, it looks like he has been, but doing that he has also lost a bit of ground to one cruiser. Not what he wants. But maybe this is just part of the plan. Just really try and save up as much as you possibly can. Use 0.0 so that you just have way more than your opponent, where you can really deploy absolutely everything in that final sector. As the DRS is actually gaining him quite a bit, so most of the time he is losing in the middle sector, in the slow parts of the track. Sector 2, probably castle section, and then the slow final corner of sector 2, where he is struggling the most, although he is very close here again, as Davey is still fighting with our gamer. Sector 1 yellow flag, that's our gamer actually into the wall possibly. There must have been some contact there. I don't know how I didn't spot that before. Doesn't look like any wing damage, thankfully, but that is basically race over for our gamer, as together with that penalty and being in P11, that's him out of the points. So now we can really focus on Smelt versus One Cruiser. We are entering the final lap. Makander really close on DRS, but not quite there. Let's see, what will Smelt do? He is deploying just a tiny bit before the S he is deploying. Will he turn back on here? Yes, he will. So it looks like he might try and go for a move here. He is deploying again once the DRS is open. Van Cruiser defending, although he is out of battery. Still side by side. No contact between them, and it looks like Smelt is ahead. However, not fully. Ron Cruiser still alongside in turn 2. It looks like he is now ahead by just a tiny bit. And does he also have the DRS? Yes, he does have DRS. But Smelt has more top speed and more battery. So now this will really, how much will Smelt be able to pull away? Will it be enough to keep the P3? Or will Ron Cruiser be able to overtake him before the line? Personally, I think from what it looks like, Smelt will have enough battery to get the move done before the line. And I don't think Meeple will be able to, I don't think Smelt will be able to overtake, unless Ron Cruiser does more stuff like this, where he's too greedy on throttle, has a little bit of wheel spin. I can only imagine those tires are cooked as well. And actually Andreas Lov still on 18 lap on mediums, so he is really saving them a lot. Now we are going on to the back straight. In just a second we will see leader and race winner Meepo go over the line. Let's have a look actually at him now as he is flying down the straight. And here is our race winner Meepo from Finland winning the race, with McKender coming second. And now the big battle, the big finish. How close is Ron Cruiser? It looks like he isn't close enough. So this will be a podium for Smelto. Ferrari coming home in P3, Ron Cruiser in P4. Now Basco in P5. Very good points haul for Ferrari with the P3 and P5. Both cars in very good points. Basco now coming across the line. And is that Andreas Lov that's going slowly? Yes, it is. He has wing damage. And a rear right puncture. So like I said, he got a puncture right at the end of the race. And he also retired from the session with too much damage. So that's very unfortunate, seeing him have to retire the car right in the last lap, in literally the last 2 corners. And now we are just waiting on our gamer to score final points of the race. Driver today, Danico, of course, gained the most positions. From 18th all the way, I believe, to 7th? If I said correctly, 7th or 8th. And here's our race winner Meepo in the Alfa Romeo. With McKender in P2 and Smelt in P3. There is the final race results. Meepo P1, McKender in P2, Smelt P3, Ron Cruiser P4, Basco P5, EMT finishing 6th, Danico in 7th, Luca Sebi in 8th, we have Davey in 9th, and then we have our gamer in P10 rounding out the finishing cars. Let's just go through the race director, through the incidents. There's actually less than I expected. Well, this is quite a difficult track to get track limits, I suppose, as we only saw 2 people get track limit penalties, being both the Aston Martins. In general, not the most exciting race we've seen, but hopefully next week in Hungary that will be a little bit better. So we will be back next week. on the 13th in Hungaroring. Hopefully with more finished cars and a more exciting race. Now, Hungary next week will be the final race before our winter break, where we will return on January the 3rd after. So I hope to see you guys next week, and thank you everyone for watching, and see you next time. Good night.